There was a time when growing food wasn't just a hobby, it was essential. Your grandparents didn't have the luxury of gardening magazines or YouTube videos telling them what to do. They learned through trial and error, passing down wisdom that actually worked. But somewhere between then and now, we've lost touch with those practical methods, replacing them with shortcuts that promise the world but deliver disappointment. You've probably seen the headlines. Grow 10 times more food with zero work. Sounds amazing, right? But in reality, most of those so-called lazy garden hacks do more harm than good. If you try them, you could end up with dead soil, stunted plants, or a harvest that barely fills a basket. Today, we're breaking down the 3 worst ways people try to grow more food with less effort, the shortcuts that will actually ruin your garden. But make sure you stick around, because we'll reveal 4 proven methods that let your garden do the hard work for you so you can harvest more with far less sweat. These aren't trendy techniques. They're time-tested strategies your grandparents probably used without even thinking about it. Let's start with the 3 worst garden myths that need busting. Number 3, neglecting soil health, the set and forget method. It's the most tempting trap for new gardeners, the belief that once you've built your garden beds, you can just plant and let nature handle the rest. After all, plants grow in the wild without human intervention, right? But there's a critical difference between wild ecosystems that have developed over centuries and your backyard garden. In the 1950s, when Victory Gardens were transitioning to suburban plots, many families maintained the intensive soil care practices they'd learned during wartime scarcity. They knew that skipping compost, mulch, or crop rotation leads to nutrient-depleted, compacted soil that stops producing after a single season. Your grandparents wouldn't dream of planting in the same spot year after year without feeding the soil. They saved coffee grounds, eggshells, and vegetable scraps, turning them into black gold for their gardens. They understood that soil isn't just dirt, it's a living ecosystem. The promise of low maintenance quickly turns into no growth when you neglect soil health. Plants yellow and wither, pests move in to attack the weakened crops, and suddenly you're working twice as hard for half the harvest. That tomato plant that produced bushels last year barely gives you a handful this season. What's particularly deceptive about this approach is how good everything looks at first. Many gardens start strong, especially if you're working with newly purchased soil or freshly cleared land. The initial fertility supports a promising spring showing. Seedlings emerge vibrant and strong, early growth looks lush. It's only as the season progresses that the cracks begin to show. By midsummer, plants that should be hitting their stride instead show signs of stress. Leaves that should be deep green turn pale. Fruit set is minimal. Growth slows to a crawl, and most gardeners respond by working harder, more watering, more fertilizing, more pest management, all addressing symptoms rather than the root cause. Number 2, over-reliance on chemical fertilizers. Walk into any garden center today and you'll see shelves lined with bottles promising bigger tomatoes, greener lettuce, and faster growth. It's tempting to think synthetic fertilizers equal instant growth, but they create a dangerous dependency cycle that your grandparents would have recognized immediately. Back in the post-war era, chemical fertilizers were marketed as modern miracles, the scientific solution to feeding a growing population. Companies promised farmers and home gardeners alike that these products would revolutionize food production. What they didn't mention was the long-term cost. Chemical fertilizers work by flooding plants with immediately available nutrients, primarily nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. Plants get a quick boost, much like humans get a sugar rush from candy. But just like that sugar crash that follows, plants experience a similar effect when those nutrients wash away or get used up. What's worse, these chemicals often burn soil life, the beneficial bacteria, fungi, and microorganisms that would naturally feed your plants in a healthy garden. Over time, the soil becomes essentially dead, merely a medium to hold plants upright while you feed them chemicals. The chemical dependency cycle is particularly insidious because it's progressive. The first year you use synthetic fertilizers, you might see impressive results: bigger plants, faster growth, higher yields. This positive reinforcement encourages you to continue the practice, but by year 3 or 4, you'll notice diminishing returns despite using the same amount of product. So what do most gardeners do? They increase the dose, creating a vicious cycle that further damages soil life and creates even greater dependency. Water pollution becomes a concern as excess nutrients leach into groundwater. Beneficial insects disappear from your garden as the ecosystem simplifies. And ironically, pest problems often increase as the natural checks and balances disappear. Number 1. Planting too much too fast. The max out your space trap. Plant intensively. Maximize every inch. Squeeze more plants into less space. These modern gardening mantras sound efficient, but they often lead to disaster. Overcrowding plants might seem like a smart way to increase yield, but it actually creates the perfect conditions for failure. When plants are packed too tightly, they compete fiercely for sunlight, water, and nutrients. The resulting stress makes them more susceptible to disease and pest problems. Without adequate airflow between plants, fungal issues spread like wildfire after a single rain. What started as a minor problem on one plant quickly becomes an epidemic throughout your garden. Your grandparents understood the importance of proper spacing. They knew that a few well-tended plants would outproduce dozens of stressed, crowded ones. They practiced thoughtful planting, giving each crop room to thrive while still making efficient use of space. The max out your space approach might look impressive initially, a lush green garden bursting with plants. But by harvest time, the reality becomes clear. Instead of feeding your family, you end up feeding the compost pile with half-rotted crops that never reach their potential. This trap is particularly alluring for gardeners with limited space. When you only have a small plot or a few containers, the temptation to maximize every square inch is powerful. Modern gardening content often reinforces this idea with images of lush, overflowing gardens that look productive but are actually setting the stage for disappointment. What's particularly frustrating about this approach is how much extra work it creates. Overcrowded gardens require more frequent watering as plants compete for moisture. Disease management becomes a constant battle as problems spread rapidly through dense foliage. Harvesting becomes difficult as plants grow into each other, creating an impenetrable tangle. What started as an attempt to grow more with less work ends up demanding more attention than a properly spaced garden ever would. All right, so you've seen the traps. Now let's flip the script. Here are 4 of the best ways to grow more food while working less, using smart gardening strategies that have stood the test of time. Number 4, feed the soil, not the plant. The single most important shift you can make in your garden is to stop focusing on feeding plants and start building living soil instead. This approach is the direct opposite of the set and forget method we discussed earlier. It's an investment that pays dividends for years to come. Your grandparents understood this intuitively. They didn't have soil testing kits or YouTube videos about microbiomes, but they knew that healthy soil produced healthy plants. They saved autumn leaves, grass clippings, kitchen scraps, and even manure from local farms to build their garden soil. Building living soil isn't complicated, but it does require consistency. Add compost regularly. Even a thin layer twice a year makes a tremendous difference. Use natural amendments like bone meal, blood meal, or rock dust to address specific deficiencies. Cover the soil with mulch to protect the life within it. Over time, something magical happens. Your garden starts feeding itself with minimal effort from you. The soil becomes a living ecosystem where earthworms, beneficial bacteria, and fungi work around the clock to make nutrients available to your plants. Roots grow deeper, accessing water and minerals that would otherwise be out of reach. What makes this approach so powerful is that it mimics nature's own processes. In a forest or prairie, soil builds naturally as plants grow, die, and decompose in place. Nutrients cycle continuously without human intervention. By recreating these conditions in our gardens, we tap into systems that have evolved over millions of years to be self-sustaining. Number 3. Mulch like your life depends on it. If there's one practice that delivers the biggest return on investment in the garden, it's mulching. A thick mulch layer acts as your weed barrier, moisture saver, and slow-release fertilizer all in one. It's the closest thing to a legitimate set-it-and-forget-it approach in gardening. Your grandparents likely used whatever organic materials were available: straw from nearby farms, fallen leaves from shade trees, even shredded newspaper or cardboard in a pinch. They understood that bare soil was vulnerable soil, prone to erosion, moisture loss, and weed invasion. Modern research has confirmed what traditional gardeners knew through observation. A 3 to 4 inch layer of organic mulch can reduce watering needs by up to 50%, virtually eliminate weeding, and gradually feed the soil as it breaks down. It's truly less work for more yield. In my own garden, I've experimented with different mulching approaches and found that wood chips work wonders for perennial beds and pathways, while straw or leaf mulch is perfect for annual vegetable gardens. The key is consistency and thickness. A thin sprinkle won't do the job. Mulch also moderates soil temperature, keeping roots cooler in summer and warmer in winter. This temperature regulation extends your growing season naturally, without fancy cold frames or row covers. Plants experience less stress, which means stronger growth and better production. What's particularly remarkable about mulching is how it addresses multiple garden challenges simultaneously. Consider the typical maintenance tasks that consume a gardener's time: weeding, watering, fertilizing, and managing soil temperature. A proper mulch layer reduces or eliminates all of these tasks at once. Number 2. Use companion planting and smart spacing. Long before garden centers sold pesticides, your grandparents used strategic plant combinations to deter pests and boost growth naturally. They didn't call it companion planting. It was just common sense passed down through generations. Instead of cramming plants together randomly, they arranged them to support each other. Tall corn provided natural trellises for climbing beans. Low-growing basil protected tomato roots from the hot sun while deterring pests with its aromatic oils. Marigolds bordered vegetable beds, their strong scent confusing insects that might otherwise attack the crops. This approach is the direct opposite of the max out your space trap we discussed earlier. It's not about squeezing in as many plants as possible. It's about creating beneficial relationships between plants while giving each one the space it needs to thrive. The benefits extend beyond pest control. Certain plant combinations actually improve flavor. Herbs planted near vegetables often enhance their taste. Some plants, like beans and peas, fix nitrogen in the soil, feeding neighboring heavy feeders like corn or cabbage. Smart spacing is equally important. Your grandparents knew that a tomato plant given proper room would outproduce 3 crowded ones. They understood that good airflow prevented disease, that proper spacing allowed for easier harvesting, and that some plants simply don't get along well when planted too close together. The wisdom of companion planting runs deep in traditional gardening knowledge. Native Americans practiced the Three Sisters method for centuries before European contact, growing corn, beans, and squash together in a mutually beneficial relationship. The corn provided support for the beans fixed nitrogen that fed the corn, and the squash's broad leaves shaded the soil, preventing weeds and retaining moisture. Number 1. Go perennial and regenerative. Perhaps the ultimate work less, harvest more strategy is to incorporate perennial food plants into your garden. These are crops that come back year after year from the same roots, requiring minimal care once established. Your grandparents likely had a dedicated asparagus bed that produced for decades, rhubarb plants that outlived the gardeners who planted them, and berry bushes that provided reliable harvests with almost no effort. These weren't just random choices. They were strategic investments in future food security. The beauty of perennials is that they develop extensive root systems over time, accessing nutrients and water far beyond the reach of annual vegetables. They become increasingly productive and drought-resistant with each passing year, while requiring less and less attention from you. Modern regenerative gardening takes this concept even further, creating food-producing ecosystems that largely maintain themselves. Fruit and nut trees form the upper canopy, berry bushes and perennial vegetables fill the middle layer, and herbs and ground covers protect the soil below. Each plant serves multiple functions: food production, soil building, habitat creation, and more. This approach counterbalances all quick-fix methods with a slow, steady system that actually saves labor long-term. The initial investment of time and effort is higher, but the returns continue for years or even decades with minimal maintenance. What makes perennial food systems so efficient is their established root systems. While annual vegetables must invest significant energy each season in developing roots before they can focus on leaf, flower, and fruit production, perennials already have extensive root systems in place when spring arrives. This head start allows them to begin producing much earlier and continue much later in the season. Your grandparents understood the value of these long-term investments. They planted fruit trees that would feed their children and grandchildren. They established berry patches that would expand naturally over time. They maintained asparagus beds that would produce for decades with minimal care. These weren't just food sources, they were legacies. Which of these methods will you try in your garden this season? Let us know in the comments below. And if you learned something new today, hit that subscribe button and make sure you watch the next one.